programming in C# and ASP.NET. This is Mr. Wilson, your instructor and guide as we take a closer look at C# and ASP.NET. CS ASP 016, working with the calendar. Let's go to Visual Studios. Hey programmers, we're now looking at calendar controls, and in the last couple videos we talked about time spans, and in the video before that we talked about date time, and now we're saying, hey, it would be handy to have a graphical reference of a calendar on our program. And what would that look like? How would that be something that we could control and use to do things? So as you can see, I have a project here that's called CS ASP 016 to match this this video, and we're going to start by talking about adding a calendar. So you know, we started to talk a little more about the XAML and how that affects this landing page. So let's go over here, and we're going to close the common WPF tools and open all WPF controls, okay? And I know there's a lot more stuff on there. You might want to look through that and see what there is in here, but we're going to come over here and we're going to grab the calendar right there, and I'm going to bring it over here and I'm going to drop it onto my page, okay? Let's just move it up just a little bit. Okay, and I'm also going to come over here and I'm going to grab a label, and I'm going to pull that over here. And I'm going to name that label result. And we've been doing that a lot, just result label. And then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to say there we go. All right. We could I'm just gonna blow mine up a little bit here so it's a little bit bigger. Let's say 16. There we go. Okay, so real simple. I've added a calendar control and I've added a label. Notice that the calendar automatically sets it to the current month of the computer, and it also sets it to the day of the month. Now, we could, as we were doing this, actually just write the code, not grab and drop. We could actually write the code, and in writing the code, we could make it do the same things, except we could make it different dates. We could have it have a no highlighted date. We could have it do other things like that. So we're going to go over here, and I want to click on the XAML. So not the design, but XAML. And I'm going to open that. Now, this is where the code is, remember, the HTML and the C# code for our page. All right. And notice in here it says grid, and what's in between here is actually what's on our page right now. And here is the calendar control. Now, notice our calendar doesn't have a name yet on it. And here's the label, and if we click on it, notice down here in the properties windows it comes up property. So watch what happens if I come into the calendar and I decide to give it a name, and let's call it let's just call it my calendar, okay? And remember, it's always good to name everything. Okay, I call it my calendar. Notice what happens. In the XAML, what I put in the properties is now there. It says X : name equals my calendar, okay? So it went ahead and added the information that I added in there. Okay, I want to do this. I want to make it so I can read what's in this calendar code a little easier, and I want to make it so I can read what's in this label a little easier. And I did that just by hitting an enter and pulling that information down here. So let's say that I wanted my calendar, I want my calendar to be able to do some things. And so even though I have code on the C# side over in my main window.xaml.cs, you know, where my code exists, I want it to be able to do some other things. So I have to add some controls in my XAML so that it can do that. So what kind of controls would that be? Well, I'm going to come here right after there. Okay. Right after that vertical alignment top. And I'm going to say selection mode right here. And now notice, as I say selection mode, so I'm telling the calendar, I want to be able to pick dates on the calendar, okay? And so it's saying, hey, here's some of the choices. You can do multiple ranges, you can do none, you could do a single date or a single range. In this case, we're going to just say single date. If I wanted to, I could say that I want it to do a range. In other words, from this date to this date. Okay? And if you remember, we did time spans, so it would be a time span if we did that. But we're just going to do a single date right now to make it a little easier to keep track of. Okay, I want to do one more thing. I've given it the ability now that I can pick a single date on the calendar, and the calendar will recognize that I clicked on a date. I want to do this now. Selected dates, and there it is, selected dates changed. Okay, and then in this, I'm going to say my calendar selected dates changed. Okay, so basically what I'm saying is, hey, when I do that, I want you to notice this, this selected dates changed item. Okay, I want you to pick up on that when I do it, when I change it. And the reason why is because we're going to use that in our code to do something. Okay? All right. So now if I go back and I click on the designer again. Sorry, my microphone's in the way. There we go. Designer. Notice nothing's changed on the page from the two things that I've added. Now, could I can actually write things over there and have them appear here on my page the same way I could write the calendar code over there and make it show up over here. Okay? So it's good to start learning some HTML and some XAML because you're going to need to know that kind of code also. All right. So we're going to go, now most of the time we would put a button in, we'd click on the button would build a button click command, but we're not going to do that this time. Notice there's no button. We're going to do something different than what we have been doing. So if I click on main window XAML.cs, that brings me over here, and I want, I tell you, so we've talked a little bit about what these do, and these are the libraries that are connected to our project. And I know right now that I do not need those. There we go. I do want to keep this System Windows Control, okay, but I do not need these, so I'm going to get rid of these. So I kept using system.windows and system.windows controls, okay. I want to keep all those. Okay, so I'm going to come down here and I'm going to say // get first date. Okay, so I'm writing a comment to tell myself what's my code do. Okay, now we haven't done a lot of commenting, or we haven't really enforced the idea of pseudocoding our project as we go along. But we want to start getting in that habit so that we know what our code did. And one of the things you're going to do is you're going to build up the reason why you should keep track of all of the projects that we do throughout this series is so you can build up a group of code, a place that you can go and pull some little snippets of code in projects that you've already wrote before and be able to use them in programs that you're working on now. Okay, and so this is an important thing for you to begin to do is to gather code and to gather ideas and really kind of, in a way, it's like you're making your own textbook or your own wiki to be able to ask questions and be able to answer your own questions. Okay, and so I've just put this get first date, and we're going to come down here and I want to write in here private and void. When it says private void, that means the method or the object that I'm creating returns no more information to the rest of the program. Okay. Now, just because I print something out to the screen doesn't mean that I've saved that information any place or done anything with that information. So this private void tells you there's no information coming out of this little method call that I'm building here. In this case, not a method call, but an event is what I'm creating. Okay, so private void my calendar private void my calendar selected dates changed. Remember, that's the name that we used in our XAML on the other in the other part of our program. And in here we're going to say object sender select and changed event. There it is right there. And we're going to say E. Okay, I know object sender selection changed event ARG arguments probably meant nothing. And that's okay. You're just beginning to learn about events and method calls and objects, so it shouldn't mean a whole lot to you. Notice I have a red squiggly line under there, and that's because I have not done this. And notice now my red squiggly line goes away. Okay, I'm going to pull this down just a little bit. There we go. So private void my calendar. Remember, that's the name of my calendar on my project. Selected dates changed, object sender selection changed. In other words, what changed? Get that when that happens, that event happens. Give me that information in this this lambda kind of expression. Okay? All right. So what's that going to do? Well, I'm going to tell it, I'm going to use our result label. And I'm going to say content and equals and my calendar dot selected date. So what I've said so far is I want to get from my calendar the date that was picked by the user. And then I'm going to put it in the result label. But I can't do that yet because it will come as a date time object, right? So what I have to tell it is I want to switch that to string, right? Because we're going to convert that over into a string so that that will go to that result label, okay? Because without that, the result label would not be able to read it. Okay, if I go ahead and I say, let's save that, and let's go ahead and build it, and we look down here, and it built okay. It says ready. All right. And now we can come up here and let's run it and see what it does, okay? Hopefully you're thinking, you've looked at the code. You should be kind of already have a good idea of what this is going to do. And okay, it's loading up. There it is. Okay, so we get something that looks like this. And here's our calendar. Here's our result label. If we come in here and let's say I'm going to pick the 15th. Aha! Look what happens. In my result label, it says 9/15/2020, 12 a.m. Now, the computer always assumes any date that I pick, it is 12 a.m. So there's the 18th. Here's the 28th. So it's basically anything that I click in there, it's sending that information and it's printing it out. We're not using a button to do it as an event. We're using the clicking of a number that we're picking, a date we're picking in the calendar. We can go forward. Let's say we go a few months forward to December. I can pick the 24th, and I can have it sent to there. Or I can go backwards too. Maybe I want July 4th to remember the barbecues that we were having. So I can pick different dates now, and I can send it to my program and have it send that here so that we can see that. So that allows us, we could also take these dates and we could put it into a date time. And then we could use it to do other things that we wanted to. Like, say, maybe if we had 2 dates, we could create a time span or something like that. So anyway, things to think about, ways that we could use this same code to do lots of other things. Okay, that's enough for now. Let's stop there, and we will meet again in the next video. Look forward to seeing you then. Our next video, CS ASP 017, Calendar Blackout. I look forward to seeing you there.